Hello, class 6 children. How are you all? Students, today we are going to start your first chapter of history. That's name is What, Where, How, and When. Do you understand what is the name? What is the meaning of the name of this chapter? What means what happened in the past, where a particular incident took place, where it happened, how it happened, and when it happened. It is all about past, right? It is all about history. Or this chapter start with a little girl's question. She is a little girl like you, and her name is Rashida. Rashida sat reading the newspaper. Suddenly her eyes fell on a small headline, 100 years ago. How? Actually, she wondered, how could anyone know what happened so many years ago? Right. It was a genuine question in her mind. How anybody can get knowledge about it? What happened 100 years ago? Yes. So children, let's start and come to know about it, how we can get knowledge about past. So finding out what happened. Children, if you want to get knowledge about yesterday, so what sources of information we people do have, we can listen to radio, we can watch television, and obviously we can read newspaper. And if we want to get knowledge about last year, what happened last year, so we can ask from anybody who remember these all the events, right? Who have seen these. So, but what about long ago? Let us see how it can be done. So, what can we know about the past? Question is, what can we know about the past? So there are a number of things, there are several things we can find out about the past. Means we can find out about the food, what people at that time. We can get knowledge about their clothes, what kind of clothes they used to wear. And we can get information about their houses, in what kind of houses these people used to live. And we can get knowledge about hunters. Hunters, do you know who are hunters? Hunters are those people who do the task of hunting, right? And herders, do you know who are herders? Herders are those people who tame the animals, who do the task of herding, taming animals. And farmers, who do the task of farming, who grow the crops, right? Rulers, kings, you know very well about them. Merchants, doing the task of trading. Priests, who pray to God, involved in religious activities. Craft persons, who make variety of things, who are excellent in craft activities, who work well in craft activities. And artists, musicians, and scientists. We can also find out about games children played that time. What kind of games were played by children at that time? What kind of stories they used to listen? What kind of plays were there? What kind of songs were there that time? So these all the things we can know about the past. Oh, again there is a question. And question is, where did people live? Right? So we need to find out river Narmada, and which is given in map 1 on page number 2. So let's find out river Narmada. You know children, people have lived along the bank of this river for several 100,000 years ago. And people who lived here, they were skilled gatherers. Do you understand who are gatherers? Who do the task of gathering. They gathered their food, right? They know about the vast wealth of plants in their surrounding forest and collected roots and fruits and forest produce, and this all was collected for their food. Can you name again the name of these things which were collected by them? These people used to collect forest produce, roots, fruits, right? And they also hunted animals. Now you have knowledge about hunters who hunt animals. Now let's find out Suleiman and Kirtar hills. So these Suleiman and Kirtar hills, in which direction? They are in northwest. These are the areas where women and men first begin to grow the crops. You know how many years ago? 8,000 years ago. And people also began rearing animals. What kind of animals? These animals were sheep, goat, and cattle. Actually, cattle are all the animals which are herbivorous and provide milk. These all are reared by human beings. Sheep, goat, cow, these all animals are in the category of cattle. Got it? Now children, these all the people that time they used to live in villages, right? Now locate Garo hills to the northeast and Vindhyas in central India. In these both the areas, agriculture developed. Means people, they were living in these areas at that time, 6 to 7 to 8,000 years ago. They also used to do agriculture, and these are the places where rice was first grown. To the north of Vindhya mountain, you can see in the map. Now children, let's find out one more location. Oh, so many locations we have to find out in this. Doesn't matter children, you are getting knowledge about it, right? After that, let's find out river Indus and its tributaries. Do you understand what is the meaning of tributary? Tributaries are smaller rivers that flow into a large river. Means they are tributing their water to the large river. They are providing their water to the large river. Simply, they are joining into the large river. So, large river is here, that is Indus. And in which direction from our country? In northwest, right? So, Indus is the large river and its tributaries. Would you like to know the names of these tributaries? These are Satluj, Ravi, Vyas, Jhelum and Chenab. Right? You know children, about 4,700 years ago. How long? 4,700 years ago, some of the earliest cities flourished on the banks of these rivers. These cities flourished on the banks of these rivers, and the main river was Indus. So, these cities and this entire civilization is known as Indus Valley Civilization. Right, children? And later, about 2,500 years ago, 2,500 years ago, some cities developed on the bank of river Ganga and its tributaries and along the sea coasts. So how many years ago these cities developed? So these cities developed 2,500 years ago. And where? On the banks of the river Ganga and its tributaries and along the sea coasts. Right children? Now in your map you locate the Ganga and its tributary called Son. Find out the location of Ganga and its tributary, that is known as Son. In ancient times, the area along these rivers to the south of the Ganga was known as Magadha, and now it is known as Bihar. Now it is laying in the state of Bihar, right? That time's Magadha, now it is known as Bihar. O children, rulers of this area, they set up large kingdoms. And kingdoms were set up in other parts of the country, but rulers of Magadha, they were really very powerful rulers. Right, children? In further chapters, we will study about Mauryan dynasty. Right? So, this also established in Magadha. So, here we have seen in different parts of our country, some powerful kingdoms emerged. Right? Now, let's talk about traveling at that time, in ancient time. So that time also people traveled from one part of the subcontinent to another, right? And hills and high mountains, including the Himalayas, deserts, rivers, seas, made their journeys dangerous at times, but never impossible. Because of these natural barriers, dangers were there in their journey. This is true. But then also people traveled. Right, children? Their journey was not impossible because of these natural barriers. And which are these natural barriers for travelers? Actually, these things are physical features and they provide beauty to the nature. But for a travelers, these things are natural barriers, right? So these things were Himalayas, deserts, rivers, seas, some water bodies also, like rivers and seas. So they made their journey dangerous but not impossible. Do you know, children, the cause of their journey? Why did these people move from one place to another? So men and women moved in search of their livelihood. Livelihood means some sources of income. They can get some income. They can earn some money. And with the help of that money, they can manage their family. They can fulfill the needs of their family. That is called livelihood. As also to escape from natural disasters like floods and drought. So one reason we have seen, they moved in search of livelihood. Second is to escape from natural disasters like flood and drought. If there is any natural disaster in their area, any kind of flood, any kind of drought, and any other kind of natural disaster, earthquake and anything else, so they have to leave that area and they had to settle in different one. And sometimes people marched in armies conquering other lands also. This is third reason. Some kings, they wanted to conquer different areas, so they marched in armies and they conquered different lands. And besides, merchants traveled with caravans. This fourth reason, this is of merchants. These merchants traveled with caravans. Do you understand what is karma? Karma is a group of travelers, right? And in that, many people walk by foot. Many people walk with the help of some animals and carts, right, children? So these are caravans of ship carrying valuable goods from one place to another. So merchants were there. And number 5, some religious teacher also walked with them from village to village and town to town, telling good things about their religion. And some people perhaps traveled driven by the spirit of adventure, wanting to discover new exciting places. So some people were there that time. They wanted to add some adventure in their life. So they did some adventurous journey. They wanted to see different places of the world. They wanted to know about them. They wanted to discover something, right? They wanted to discover new areas. So this spirit of adventure forced them to travel from one place to another, right, children? So here we have seen Causes of journey. Why did people move from one place to another? In search of livelihood. One, we have seen this. Second is to escape from natural disasters. Next one, some people marched in armies, means to conquer different areas. Next, we have seen some merchants traveled with karmas to gain some profit. And next one is, that is, some people used to move from one place to another for adventure, right? Now there is a question for you. Why do people travel nowadays? So children, people travel nowadays for their different purposes. Sometime we need to go to market. Sometime we go to our relatives. People go from one place to another to do job and for many other reasons. Right children? So this is it. Or these movements of the people enriched our cultural tradition in that time, in ancient time. People have shared new ways of carving stone, composing music, and even cooking food of several hundreds of years. People at that time, when people traveled from one place to another, they settled here on this subcontinent, shared their culture, their ideas, their traditional beliefs. So that is how culture of this subcontinent has enriched at the time. So children, here we have done one part of this chapter. Next parts we will see in next videos. Thank you. Have a nice day.